Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 231 with Mel Wells. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were when she shares her story from being a big TV star to her eating disorder and where she is today, and how she went from hating her body to loving it. I also loved it when she spoke about how you can learn to love yourself and your body no matter what your history is, and how your food is a gateway for spiritual growth. But there is so much more wisdom and inspiration that you get in the full episode. So, to listen to the full podcast and get all the info in the show notes, head on over to melissaambrosini.com/231 right now. Beautiful Mel, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Let's take it back. Can you tell us your story and how you got to where you are today doing the work that you now do? How did this all unfold for you?
My first passion in life was always acting. Well, actually, it was dancing, but acting was like my thing very, very early on in life. I'm nearly 30 now. So at the time for me when I was going through college, that was I was 16, 17. And nowadays, obviously, it's all about body image for women is all about the big butt and the small waist. Back when I was kind of growing into a woman, it was all about the size 0. I'm sure you remember it was just everywhere. It was like you have to be as waif-like as possible and have a lollipop head. And, for someone that's, a very impressionable teenager that wants to be an actress, I was seeing all these actresses that looked like that. And I was thinking, okay, well, that is what I need to be successful. And I kind of basically saw that as a way to be the best. And I was like, okay, so I need to get as thin as possible because that will mean that I will be successful, or I will have more of a chance of being successful. And, it wasn't long before I developed an eating disorder at the age of 16. Now, when I got to age 18, having really, shrunk myself and gotten very ill. And I actually landed a part in a TV show here, which would see me filming full time for 2 years. And it was a soap opera. So I was on the TV pretty much every night in people's living rooms. And the pressure that I then had from being on screen every night and kind of, I was getting recognized in the streets and things like that, and seeing myself on screen a lot, which I hated, it actually sent me the other way. So I actually then developed binge eating disorder, which turned into bulimia. And I gained a lot of weight very fast. And so I found myself just uncontrollably eating and then giving myself such a hard time about it and trying all these crazy diets to try and lose the weight. And, my biggest turning point that came for me was I actually found out that my dad had been diagnosed with terminal cancer and given 4 months to live. And that obviously just completely shook my world. Now, what happened when that happened was I basically turned my obsession with food into an obsession with health. And I basically got consumed with this vegan lifestyle message. And that was how I got into health coaching. That was when I trained to become a health coach at IIN and did all the things. And eventually I realized that it was just another way for me to have an eating disorder. It was just another way for me to be super controlling around my food. And that kind of turned into a different obsession. What happened next was a couple of years later, I got married when I was 21. And when I was 23, we kind of said, okay, let's consider trying for a baby. And I went up and I had this come to Jesus moment where I looked at my body in the bathroom mirror like I had done so many times before, every single morning. And I looked at my body and I was like, okay, we're going to have a baby in here. And I had this groundbreaking moment of you are nowhere near ready for a baby because you cannot even look after your body without a baby, let alone having a baby in it. And so I made that decision there and then. I was like, I have to go on a journey of self-love and let go of all of these stupid rules that I've created around food, because otherwise I am going to live my life thinking that it's all about my weight and my body, and it's not. And so I suddenly had this vision that was so much bigger than controlling my food. Yeah, really since that moment, everything has just just got so incredible in my life since I decided to make friends with my body first.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that, honey. And I know a lot of people listening can relate to elements of your story. But for someone listening who is thinking, I have that relationship with my body or I have that relationship with food, what are the steps? How have you done it?
Honestly, for me, it was taking the attention off food and my body. Like, it was really when I started to go, do you know what? My purpose in this lifetime is not to shrink my body. It is not to control my food. Actually, I'm here for bigger things. And so I started filling my life with things that had nothing to do with food or fitness or health. And I realized that life isn't all about that. And so for me, my big wake up call was like, oh, I really want to be a mum. And that's more important. Like, that is more of a meaningful thing for me to have in my life. So I think honestly, like, when we don't have loads of meaning in our life, I think we can attach meaning to things like weight loss and numbers on the scale, and we can get super obsessive and controlling. And I think actually when we do that, it's actually in the place of something else that could really be filling us up on a soul level and giving us true fulfillment.
A woman birthing a baby is the most miraculous thing you will ever see. And when we really understand that, and when we really, witness that, you will have such a deeper appreciation and love for your temple, for your beautiful body, and you will start to treat it differently.
This universe is just crazy incredible. And yet we think that we grow up thinking that we need to shrink our bodies, we need to change them, they're not good enough, we're going to battle with them, we treat our bodies like they are our enemies. Another thing is when we get into that like super controlling place and super restricting place, we go really into our masculine, and I think we really disconnect from the feminine, and we deny ourselves pleasure. We deny ourselves these feminine traits that are just so innate to us, and we say nope, not allowed that. I'm going to control instead. And it's not what the female body is designed for.
But I can imagine for you, because this definitely was the case for me, I had to do a lot of mean girl mastering. I had to do a lot of mindset reprogramming. Did you have to do that too?
Oh, for sure. Like, I had to question every single negative belief or story or, thing about food that popped up into my head every time I sat down to have a meal, or every time I opened my cupboards. I would have all of these kind of, these rules. And I would literally have to question all of them and go, where did this come from? And I honestly had to kind of detox myself from all of diet culture and all of these rules from other people and go, do you know what? All that matters for me right now is that I listen to my body, that I learn to love myself, and that I go on this journey that no one else can go on except for me.
So important. Bio-individuality. And this is why we really need to honor that, because we are all so different and so unique. And what works for you may not work for me. And this is why I don't post what I eat on my Instagram. I don't post what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I don't want other people to then think that that's what they have to eat. And so I'm really cautious around that, because we're all so different. We live in different climates. We have different needs. We have different Ayurvedic body types. And what works for me may not work for you. And I think another really important thing that you said is, whilst you are healing, whilst you are going on this journey, that if you need to remove the triggers, whether they are in the form of magazines or Instagram accounts, if you need to remove those triggers, please do.
100%. In the healing process, you have to kind of let go of all the rules. Otherwise, it's not gonna have the effect that you want. And I think what I'm talking about when I say the effect that you want, what it really is freedom. We when we have a destructive relationship with food, really what we want is to feel free.
So I want to talk to you about our relationship with food being a gateway for spiritual growth.
Yes. My favorite. Well, this is what catapulted my whole journey into personal and spiritual growth because I truly believe that our relationship with food is really just a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. When we start to look at our food, we have to start looking at ourselves and asking deeper, more meaningful questions. If we are
Yes.
super controlling around food, it's likely that we're going to be the same when it comes to relationships or money or, anything. If we're all or nothing with food, we're probably an all or nothing person in our life. So it is all about self love. I mean, I believe everything always leads back to self love. But when you go on that journey with food and you realize that it's actually not about the food, it's never been about the food. The food is just a way for us to kind of express ourselves. So yeah, I think it's such a powerful tool, our relationship with food, because it's just not about food itself.
If you notice right now that you are reaching for the ice cream when you feel that emotion or whatever bubbles away inside you, what I get everybody to do is write down a self-love menu. So on that self-love menu, it's 10 things that you absolutely love that light up your soul. So for example, on my self-love menu, going to the beach and diving in the ocean and spending time in the sunshine, that is one of mine. And so, whenever you have that desire or that urge to go and binge or to numb or to fill a void with the ice cream or whatever it is, I want you
Mm,
to stop, take a deep breath, and do something off that menu instead. And maybe you need to do one or two things off that menu, and that is going to help you break that pattern. That's the best place that you can start to shift that pattern.
yes, I completely agree. I have some more actually to add to that as well that I've used in my programs with my clients. And that is that in those moments when you have that urge, when you catch yourself, what we can do in those moments is we kind of catch ourselves and we go, oh, here I go again. Oh, I know that I'm binging, but here I go. I'm just binging. And you kind of watch yourself go through this pattern and you say, I know what to do, but I just can't do it. And if you find yourself in that place, I want you to really ask yourself, okay, what am I actually feeling here? Like, what feeling is this that I'm trying to avoid, that I'm trying to numb, that I'm trying to push down? And actually give yourself the time and the chance to actually answer that question. If you can really see, okay, I'm eating this or I'm going for this ice cream because I feel anxious. You can clearly work out for yourself that actually it doesn't solve the problem of the anxiety, and it gives you the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and, really get to the root of what that anxiety has come from. And the other thing is for me personally, when I was kind of fighting this urge to go back to binging, something really powerful that I would ask myself in those moments would be, can I eat this in a loving way? Give your bodies love in the way of see your food as I'm going to give my body this precious gift of this, my favorite food, right? And you'll find that when you do that, you really enjoy, you really savor it instead of just stuffing it in, because it's a completely different intention around the whole eating experience.
Is there anything that you're working on within yourself at the moment?
Oh gosh, always, always. Something that I'm working on in myself at the moment is boundaries. And I'm really seeing that come forward for me as a huge lesson in self love. And it's something that I thought I had got, I know I have got a lot better with them. But more recently, I've seen a few patterns come up where I have felt like, oh, okay, I needed stronger boundaries then. And I didn't, I might have said boundaries, but then I didn't stand by them. And so that's something that I'm really working on at the moment, is really seeing that as an act of self love. I trust so easily, Melissa. I give a lot and I trust very easily. And I expect people to always kind of give the same back or kind of uphold that trust, and I don't really allow people to earn it. I think that's something that I'm really working on personally for me right now.
Something, you said about trust, and Brene Brown says that vulnerability builds trust. And so if you've got like a relationship, it's almost like you see two people and one of them is very open and vulnerable and shares something very deep. And then that person on the other side kind of takes a step in. And then that person shares something very open and honest and vulnerable. And then the person on the other side takes a step in. So that trust is getting built and strengthened. And it only gets strengthened by us sharing and being open and authentic and honest and vulnerable. You know, if we're having these superficial relationships where we're never going deeper, then that vulnerability and that trust doesn't ever deepen. And so, you know, the more open and honest and vulnerable I have been in my relationships, the stronger that trust has gotten. So I just wanted to offer that to you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I will. I really appreciate that. I think, you know, for me personally, it's been a case of I'm great at getting really vulnerable, but sometimes I've not been the wisest about who that is with. And I've almost like, I suppose, like not let someone earn the right to kind of have that vulnerability, if that makes sense. So I think there's a balance, you know, as with everything. I think there's a balance of, you know, there's a line, isn't there, between like vulnerability and oversharing and then going over your own boundary. And I think that's where I need to really, you know, dig deep into where that line is for me.
Okay, so tell us how you prime yourself for your day and what your days look today. And I know no 2 days are ever the same, but I would love to hear how your days unfold.
Totally. So I realized when I started traveling a lot, and I kind of have been between London, Bali, and LA, but mostly London now. But I realized how important it is to have a routine, especially if you are traveling, you know, if you move around, you've got to have that routine in place. So for me now, every time I come back to Bali, I come back to the same place. I have my same cafe that I sit in every morning. I have the same gym that I go to because that routine really grounds me. So in London, I get up and the first thing that I do is I go and move my body. I go and work out. Then I have a protein shake, which has got all these amazing plant-based protein, milk, peanut butter, plant-based milk, obviously, some coffee in there. And then I go and sit in the park and I do a little meditation. I love the Calm app. So I do that in the park, and then I might journal while I'm there, or I might come home, and when I'm walking home, because I get to walk to the gym, which I love to do because I can listen to a podcast. So yeah, and then by the time I've got home from the gym, I feel like I've really nourished myself and I can go and start my day. So that's my London routine. Obviously, not every day starts like that. And I have to say that if my body is aching so much and my body is like, nah, no gym today, or if my body is like, okay, girl, you are menstruating, today is not the day to go and lift weights or run, then I just honor my body and I let myself have that extra time in bed. But what's helped me solidify that routine is to tie everything into each other. So I know that if I don't make it to that workout, I'm also missing that protein shake that comes afterwards because I get it from the gym, right? I also know that I'm missing my time to listen to a podcast. I'm missing my time to go sit in the park. So everything connects with everything. So I know that if I don't make it, I'm actually not just missing one part of my routine, I'm missing like a lot of, like all of it. So that's helped me because I'm not naturally a routine gal, I gotta say. But then when I come to Bali, similar. So I will go and have a little matcha latte at this cafe that I love. Then I will go do a workout, and then I will come back to the same cafe and journal, and then come home and start my day. So yeah, that's my morning routine in a nutshell.
Is there anything else that you want to share? Any last parting words of wisdom or anything that you really wanted to talk about that I haven't asked you about?
Well, actually, something that's been coming up a lot for my clients and my audience recently has been around sex and pleasure and just how linked that is to our relationship with food and our relationship with our bodies. And so I guess I want to say that, like, if your relationship with food is disordered or dysfunctional and you're kind of noticing that you're also not allowing or receiving pleasure in your sex life, then I really do believe that one can directly inform the other. And if you allow yourself to be open to receiving more pleasure in all areas of your life, then you're going to feel rich in the bedroom, rich in the kitchen, rich in every single area of your life.